So what happened? You shut down the engine and then you can't leave everyone hanging.
7% are female pilots. He thought I was a fake.
There was a really big thunderstorm and I thought we were gonna die. The day has finally come, as promised. I managed to sit down my sister, Christina, who is a pilot, and interview her. I have a bunch of questions that you guys sent me on Instagram that I'm going to be asking her, and maybe she'll throw in some additional infos. So to start, why don't you tell us how long you've been flying, how many flight hours you have, what types of airplanes you've flown, all the basic stuff.
I've been flying for 15 years. That sounds like a lot when I say it out loud. Okay. I have around 8,000 flight hours. And so far I have flown 3 aircraft types. The MD-11, which is a cargo airplane, and then the Airbus 300 and the Boeing 737, which are both passenger airplanes.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning. What inspired you to become a pilot?
Okay, that's a question I get asked a lot. So the first thing was the international upbringing, and I knew I wanted to do something that would allow me to keep traveling and to see even more of the world, because that's really my passion and I love to do that. We were lucky enough to be flying quite a bit as children because our family was all over the globe. So when summer vacation came, we used to fly back to our different homes and visit our family members. And the second thing was that all these flights I used to take, I used to love the flying part of it, the traveling, and just the actual flight. And I would always be very interested in everything around the airplane. I would love to visit the flight deck, which back then was still possible. I used to make my mom ask for me. She would ask the flight attendants if I was allowed to have a little peek.
We had those little books that we would bring into the cockpit,
right.
And the pilots would sign them.
That's true. I was a member of the kids club of the airline we used to fly with a lot, and I had a little logbook, so we would write the route in there, the altitude, the flight time, and then the best part would be to get the signature of the pilots in there. So yeah, that's what inspired me.
I'm sure you get this question a lot. If someone wants to become a pilot, what steps do they need to take?
Okay, oh gosh. It's a difficult question because it really depends what country you live in, where you're thinking of becoming a pilot. It's really very, very different in each country. Some of the basic things would be to make sure your English skills are very good because they're just required by every airline nowadays. And it doesn't hurt to be a little bit good or well trained in things like math and logical thinking. Those are things that you could just be practicing for a couple of years before you might want to become a pilot. And then one of the easiest ways, and this is the way which I took, was I was lucky enough to go to a flight school that belonged to an airline. So then the flight school prepares you specifically for a job at that airline. Now, I know that a lot of people may not have this possibility, and then it's just good to find a very good private flight school and then try to build hours.
Do you have any suggestions specifically for people who are maybe in the middle of training or about to start training now with the current times of the pandemic where it might be harder to get a job as a pilot?
Well, this time is difficult, but I do have to say the aviation industry, and now specifically the pilot job industry, is generally very volatile. There's always ups and downs. For example, when I finished my training, we were at a downturn and I did not find a job right away, and I actually had to wait for around 2 years. So I used that time to study and get a degree in aviation management. So I would generally recommend to people who are thinking of going the pilot route to make it not be the only thing you know how to do or how to learn. Just try to get some kind of degree or some kind of different education to just be sure if the time comes that you will not be able to fly as a pilot for a couple of months or even years, that you have a backup plan. What? We didn't prepare any of these questions, so if she's giving me that look, I'm wondering.
No, this is a good question. If you can remember it that far back. Do you remember what you felt like during your first solo flight? And tell us about your first landing.
My first solo flight, I'll admit it, I was scared. Basically, I didn't know exactly when the time would come. I guess my instructor had also planned it that way, so I wouldn't have time to get nervous. So one day, he just got out of the plane and said, okay, now you're going to do it by yourself. And I didn't really have time to think about it, but yeah, I was super nervous. But then after a while, I just thought to myself, okay, you've done this a lot of times, everything has always gone well, you know what to do if something doesn't go well, and I just kept going.
What airplane was that with?
That was a little Piper aircraft.
And do you remember the first landing? Did it go well?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really remember exactly how that landing went. I remember the first landing in a jet. I was also a bit nervous before that, obviously.
So what is the schedule of a pilot like?
That also depends a lot on what airline you're flying with. Are you doing cargo flying, passenger flying? Some airlines have fixed schedules, which are a couple of days or weeks on and then a certain time off. The airline I fly for gives us a new roster every month, and it's very irregular. It's different routes, different days that you fly, different times. So I could be gone from 1 to 8 or 9 days in one piece, and then I would have between 2 and maybe 5 off days, and then the whole thing starts over again. So it's really different every week and every month.
What salary can a pilot expect to make?
Well, so I guess that also really depends on what type of airline you fly with. Are you flying private? Are you flying regional? Are you flying for a large carrier? I guess the salaries start as low as basically zero. I've heard of people who basically pay to fly because they need to build hours. And if you're lucky, you can be anywhere up to a couple of $100,000.
Wow.
Wow.
What are the hardest things about being a pilot?
Oh gosh. The hardest thing is also the nicest thing, which is the traveling. What can be hard about it is the jet lag, the time changes, being away from home and from your loved ones, the irregular schedule, having to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, as you have experience with me.
Speaking of times, what time zone do you use when you're flying?
So the main time zone that everybody uses for flying is UTC, Universal Time Coordinated, which right now from Middle Europe, for example, is 2 hours difference right now. Personally, what I do is if I have a shorter trip, I try to stay in my home time, which I feel is better for my biorhythm, and when I get back home, it makes me adjust faster.
And less grumpy.
And less grumpy.
What is the highest altitude you have flown?
Okay, the highest altitude I have flown is 41,000 feet.
What is your favorite airport to land at?
Favorite because of the stuff I could do there in my free time, or favorite as in this one is so exciting to land at?
I don't know, both, I guess. Is it a different answer?
Yeah, I guess. Well, one of the most interesting airports I have approached is Quito in Ecuador. That's a very challenging airport because it's a high altitude airport. It has a lot of high mountains, and the weather can be quite interesting there too. There can be a lot of thunderstorms, for example, and the winds are also quite tricky on the approach. So that's, I guess, kind of favorite, you can say. And as to favorite for destination, wow, that's difficult. I generally like to fly where it's warm and nice and tropical. I love flying to Japan. I think that's definitely one of my favorite layovers. Any city in Japan, basically, that I can get to.
I like when you go there too, because then you bring me cool things like Japanese green tea.
I love all the stuff they have in Japan and the food. Seriously.
Didn't you buy sushi and then take it on the plane?
I do that all the time. Except due to COVID, I haven't been to Japan in a really long time, so that's a bummer.
So you've mentioned that you've flown both passengers and cargo. What is the most interesting cargo you have flown?
The most interesting cargo, I would say all kinds of animals are pretty interesting. I would have never imagined all the different kinds of animals that get shipped around in cargo aircraft. It's not just cats and dogs, but hatching eggs. I've flown pigs, a whole plane full of pigs. We fly a lot of horses. I have flown a baby seal once.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where was it going?
I don't remember.
Have you flown any interesting passengers? Can you talk about any famous people you've flown?
I don't remember.
Didn't you fly like once?
Oh yeah, I think so.
What is the strangest thing that has happened on a flight? So no strange things have happened on your flight?
Nope.
Okay, I got this question a lot. Have you seen any UFOs?
Oh, no, I have not seen any UFOs. You do see quite a lot of interesting things. You can see ISS, the International Space Station, sometimes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you see a lot of shooting stars. You see satellites circling, which can also look interesting.
Do you wave to the astronauts on the ISS?
Every time. We moon them.
Oh, clever. Good one. Okay, how does it feel when there's a storm coming up?
It feels normal because we're prepared. When a storm is coming up, you just try to really follow the weather even more closely to prevent landing or taking off or flying through a storm.
So this is a two-part question because it might be the same thing or it might not. Have you ever had any emergencies in flight? And what was your scariest in-flight experience, both as a pilot and as a passenger?
As a pilot, I haven't had any experiences in flight which I would categorize as scary. I have had that as a passenger, which I can tell you about when I answer the second part. So the first part, I've had a couple of small things here and there, like diversion because of weather. And I guess the largest thing I've had is I've had to shut down an engine on the way from Europe to the United States one day because of oil loss. Yeah, but that wasn't scary. We practice these kinds of things all the time in the simulator, so when I was doing it, I basically felt routine to me.
So what happened? You shut down the engine and then you can't leave everyone hanging.
It's unspectacular. It happened rather late in the flight, so we were able to continue our flight to the destination. This was on the MD-11, which is a 3-engine airplane, so we were able to continue with 2 engines because our destination was already very close, and then we just landed.
Well, good job for landing safely. Well, were there any scary passenger experiences?
I wouldn't say scary. I had a couple of experiences where before the flight, passengers were already acting up, but we handled those very strictly. So there wasn't any chance for anything to happen after.
Okay. But I think the question was whether you experienced anything scary as a passenger yourself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, well, remember that one time we flew together when we were kids and we were supposed to land in Zurich, and then the plane diverted to Geneva because there was also a big storm and a lot of turbulence, and I was throwing up the whole time.
Yeah. And I was just like, what's going on? What's all the fuss about?
Well, we were very young. I mean, that was kind of scary.
I just remember you like laying down on the 2 seats in front of us, and I was looking over, and then you asked for some water, and it was so turbulent that the flight attendant just like handed you a big bottle of water.
Yeah. Strange that I still wanted to become a pilot after that.
Yeah.
So I had one other, really the only time I felt scared in an airplane was when I flew to a small island with a very small airplane, and there were thunderstorms all around, and we weren't able to land, and we kept circling and circling, and I started to be scared that our fuel would run out, and I was hoping that the pilots had done good calculations. And then at the end, when we finally did go to land, we had to do one go around, and that made me even more nervous.
Do you want to explain what a go around is in case people don't know?
Okay, right. So a go around is when you're in an approach and then you decide that you're not going to be able to make a safe landing, and then it's better to go around, which basically just means that you pull the plane back up, give it more power, and basically take off again without having done the landing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Wait, so did you finish the story?
No, I didn't finish the story. So, yes, the one thing that also made me very scared is that it was a runway that was basically on 3 sides encircled by mountains. They were very close, and it was very turbulent, and after we landed, I was very happy.
Well, someone actually asked this question, what would you do if you run out of fuel?
Well, I would make sure not to run out of fuel. So when you do your calculations for the flight, there's always different categories of reserve fuel that you must take with you, and then you also have the possibility to take even more extra fuel if you think you might need it, for example, because there's bad weather underway or at the destination. So the important thing is to always have not just a plan A, but a plan B and a plan C, and then that way you're not gonna end up somewhere with no fuel.
Do you like being a passenger?
I do, mostly. Again, I would say depends on the airline, depends on the crew, but usually I like sitting in the back and being pampered a little bit.
Do you ever get nervous during landings, and is there a landing that you've done that you're most proud of?
No, not nervous. Nervous is not the right word. Some landings are more challenging than others, so I may feel the need to be extra concentrated and prepared, especially if the weather is very windy, and if the wind is coming from the side, which is called crosswind, and add some rain on the runway, then the landings can be very challenging. And is there one which I'm most proud of? No, not one, but every once in a while when you do encounter weather, as I just mentioned, then if you do a very nice landing after that, then every pilot then is a little bit proud of themselves.
Like when we landed in Nairobi?
I don't remember that. Tell me about it.
There was a really big thunderstorm and I thought we were gonna die.
Did I do the landing?
Yes.
See, I don't even remember that.
And it was raining so much and there was no visibility, and then all the crackling stuff on the windows that no one told me about that I thought we were being struck by lightning?
The Elms Fire.
Yes.
At least I think that it's what it's called in English. No, I think it's called St. Elmo's Fire in English.
Oh.
Yeah, see, I guess that's one of the landings that you need a little extra portion of concentration.
Well, I was very proud of you.
Thanks.
Where have you not flown yet that you'd like to visit?
Ooh. Hawaii, for example. I have not flown there and I have never visited. So, yeah. I would say that's my answer.
Are you as interesting and gorgeous as your sister?
Well, I would sure hope so.
The answer is yes. Are you single?
Oh, who asks all these questions?
That question came up several times, so...
No, sorry guys, I'm off the market.
Okay, so we got several questions about what it's like to be a woman in an industry that is mostly male. If you could talk a little bit about that, and are there statistics? Do you know the statistics of how many women are actually pilots?
So I think the worldwide number I'm speaking for major carriers, is between 5 and 10%. Usually at my company, I'm guessing it's around maybe 7% are female pilots.
What is it like working in an industry that is mostly male? Do you feel that you're treated equally at the workplace?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel that when we're flying on the flight deck, it doesn't, there's no difference between being male or female. It's very professional, and I'm happy to say that it's about the job we do and how we do it.
Are the women pilots supportive of each other, or is there any drama or backstabbing?
No, I feel like all the pilots are supportive of each other, and unfortunately I don't fly that much with other women, because as we are only around 7%, and most of those are other co-pilots. We have very, very few female captains, which are usually the ones I'm paired with to fly, and so it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's fun. It is a little bit different flying with a male or a female, but not in any way better or worse or something like that. It's just a little bit different.
Have there been any instances where someone was uncomfortable that it was a woman flying the airplane, whether one of the passengers or someone at an airport, or anything you've experienced?
I'm sure there have been so many moments. Usually people aren't brave enough to tell us. I have noticed a lot of times that when people are exiting the airplane, and then you might be standing by the flight deck saying bye to everyone, some passengers are surprised or make comments.
Nice comments?
Yeah, most of the some are just surprise comments saying like, wow, are you really the pilot? And a lot of people are just happy. A lot of what I really like is a lot of older women, like, you know, the age of our grandmothers. They're super happy and super proud, and they say so, and they say, way to go, and like, I love that we have a female pilot. Yeah, it's really cute. Oh, actually, I have had some experiences with other operating personnel at the airports. I, for example, once had a fueler who did not want to give me the fueling slip because he didn't believe I was the pilot. And it's actually my job to take the slip and enter the numbers into the flight management system. But I guess he thought I was a fake.
But then he gave it to you?
I think I just took it from his hand and said, it's fine.
What is your favorite movie that features flying?
Con Air. Seriously.
Wait, now I'm mixing up Con Air and Air Force One. Which one's Con Air? The one with Nick Cage?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, what's your favorite song featuring flying?
Do you know any songs that feature flying?
I believe I can fly.
That one.
I believe I can touch the sky.
I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. Oh my god, this is so dorky.
I thought we were having a moment. If you could switch careers with your sister for one day, what would you want to do?
Ooh. I would probably try to go to a gifting suite and get all this free stuff. Is that a bad answer?
I mean, that's not really like a day at work. Well, I guess it kind of is. I guess that's your favorite part of my job.
Well, what would you do if we switched for a day?
Well, I would fly to some really cool place that I've never been to. Like Japan.
Oh, I love Japan. A lot.
Or Thailand.
I love Thailand too.
Have you flown to Thailand as a pilot?
Yeah, I've flown to Bangkok.
See? Did I ask you what the coolest things about being a pilot are?
No, you only asked me what the hardest things are.
Okay, so what are the coolest things about being a pilot?
What I love about being a pilot is that I get to travel to all these really cool places, and not only do I get to travel there, but I actually get to fly my own airplane there. That's pretty awesome. I love that. I'm a total foodie, as you know. So I love tasting different foods in different countries. Seriously, that's one of the perks of my job. At least I think so. Not just the food, also basically being able to meet new people all around the globe, and also stay in contact with all my friends and family that I love, since everybody's kind of spread out all over the planet. My job gives me the ability to just, for example, hang out with my sister sometimes.
We've hung out in a lot of different cities by chance.
Remember that one time you came to Mexico and I asked you a day before.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You were like, do you want to go to Mexico this weekend?
Yeah, and she basically hopped on a plane and knocked on my hotel room door in the middle of the night.
I'm here!
That was cool.
And then we went horseback riding.
In the thunderstorm?
There was a thunderstorm.
Oh, that was another time. With someone else.
Oh, great! I guess our trip wasn't as memorable as I thought it was. Remember when we were in Berlin and your suitcase didn't arrive?
Oh, God.
And it was negative 20 degrees and all you had was your uniform and my sneakers.
And because it was your first time in Berlin,
we had to do all the things.
We had to do all the things. So I walked around wearing all my uniform parts. Thank God I had that overcoat and your white Adidas sneakers. Yeah.
We went to the Christmas market. It was nice.
People are probably going to be like, why didn't she just buy new clothes? But it was a holiday and stores are closed in Germany on holidays and Sundays.
Yeah, remember the time we went to Dubai? Well, and we also landed in Saudi Arabia, but I wasn't allowed to get off the plane. And there's the people standing at the airport with their machine guns. We just had a short layover in Saudi Arabia, and then we went to Dubai. And then we were supposed to stay there for longer, but then they changed that flight or something.
Yeah, our layover got cut short. Oh, I felt so bad about that.
Well,
but we still had fun.
Yeah.
We did a lot. We had tea time at the Burj Khalifa.
Yes.
That was fun.
With all the fountain music and stuff. With that cool song.
Yeah, you've flown with me a lot.
And then there was the time we went to France. Are we going to mention the time we went to Africa before the pandemic hit? Or no, because I have a video about that.
That's the last time I was ever able to take anyone with me on flight because of COVID, yeah.
Well, where's our next trip gonna be to?
Well, you gotta get in line. Mom's already signed up.
Fine, I'll wait. Maybe I'll take someone else to my next premiere.
Or to your next gifting suite.
Yeah.
I can't believe
Get
I
in
said that.
line.
I can't believe I said that. Mom almost got stuck in Russia once when she accompanied me on the flight.
What do you mean?
Well, like they didn't want to let her go with us because some paperwork wasn't right. But she needed to come with us, otherwise she wouldn't have been able to leave the country. So it was this whole discussion, and Mom kept getting more and more scared. She was like, "Don't leave me."
She thought you were gonna leave without her?
I don't know. I hope not. I wouldn't have.
Okay, so there were a lot of nice questions from people. Some people were just wishing you happy and safe journeys, which I thought was very sweet, and good flights, and that they're all looking forward to seeing this video. Do you have any closing words of wisdom you'd like to impart on the world?
Put on your shoes when you leave your seat. Dude, seriously, sometimes, like, haven't you ever seen those passengers that don't put on their shoes to go to the bathroom? And you know all that liquid on the floor? Like, it's not water. Maybe those are my words of wisdom.
I go to the bathroom in those socks they give you.
Oh my God, Elena.
But then I take the socks off and I wash them immediately. Don't the socks repel pee? Do you have any other normal words of wisdom? What if you see a little girl playing in the park and she's wearing a t-shirt with an airplane on it and her mom says that it's her dream to be a pilot one day?
I would say my words of wisdom are, if you're thinking of being a pilot, just try and go for it. I feel like I meet a lot of people that say, "Oh, I would have loved to do that, but I didn't for XYZ reasons." And usually the reasons are something like, "Oh, I thought I wouldn't pass the test anyway," stuff like that. And then I just figure, just try. You might succeed. You might not, but at least you tried.
That's very true. That's how I live my life too. Okay, goodbye.
Bye. Are we gonna do bloopers?
I guess, because we have enough. When you're like,
Okay.
Are we keeping this in?
I don't know. We'll have to look at it. Okay, this is also really bad.
Okay, you need to enunciate a little more.
Okay, should I have made that sound more spectacular?
No, I guess it's good that you didn't. I don't know, it's your job. I'm getting hot.
I have been hot. Okay, maybe I have to think about how to explain that. Okay, hold on. Because,
I don't know, you need to know. I mean, obviously we're gonna delete all this shit.
I hope this is over soon. Can we start over? Okay.